Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello and welcome to Inkdependence.com. I'm Mike and this is a new Aurora pen. This is actually a new collection of pen. There are going to be 3 of them in this series. I've only got the one, but it's a representative sample. It is the K collection, K for Kappa, not potassium, Kappa. Comes in the standard sort of Aurora box. This is that. This is a display model that was provided to me by Federalist Pens. So thanks very much, Frank, for hunting me down and saying, hey, you want to review a pen? Totally. This is the stuff that's on the side. These only come in fine and medium, so that's a bit of a con, I suppose, if you like big, broad nibs or something like that. But you can always get a medium and grind it down to a stub or something like that, I suppose. So let's look at the inner box. Throw that over here out of the way. This is the inner box, which is the same kind of clamshell box that you get with the Aurora Ypsilon, which is their other sort of lower end. Here we go, which is the other sort of lower end pen. They have like a couple of tiers, really, Aurora does, and their upper tier is, you know, Optimas and 88s and that kind of stuff, and the lower tier is the Ypsilons, which are around $100 starting out, and now the Kappa. So we'll look back at this Ypsilon here in a little bit, but let's check out the Kappa. This is a cool box, I think, actually. I kind of like it a lot. It's got a neat shape to it. However, it is super shallow, and so you don't have the underneath stuff, so all the paperwork is up here on the top. It's got a couple of things in there. Aurora stuff. We've got, this is in Italian. There we go. Anyway, so you've got this... you got this paperwork in there. This is sort of leatherette, maybe leather. Throw that over here for now. So this is the Kappa. The Kappa is an interesting sort of pen. It's very different from their other offerings. The only other one I have handy is this Ypsilon, and you can see they are very different breeds of pen, I think. Both are kind of interesting looking. This is more classical looking, I suppose. And this one actually reminds me of... I could not find the pen I was thinking of, but it actually reminds me a little bit of this inner gel, which is kind of interesting. They both got the same kind of shape to them and that sort of thing. It's an interesting sort of deal. This is one I've had for a while. It's all faded off. Anyway, throw that out of here. But yeah, they have that kind of like a youthful look, more of a, you know, a standard sort of pen look. So that's the thing about this Kappa, is that if you don't want to have an ostentatious looking fountain pen, I don't know, you don't want some, you know, Franklin Christophs or some like big Pelicans or I don't know, Omos or like an Orange Schaefer or Orange Schaefer or something. Like you don't want that stuff on your desk. You know, you don't want to get the comments from the coworkers and that kind of thing. This might be a good pen to sort of stealth your way into office fountain pens or rollerballs or fountain pen rollerballs or ballpoints. They come in both of those modes as well. The body of this pen is translucent, as you can probably see here. And actually this little black band in here is a piece of Gorilla Tape that I had to wrap around the cartridge because the cartridge split on me. I've had that happen a couple of times with these long cartridges. Anyway, I'll show you that in a sec. The top has got this slant to it. It's also translucent. It comes in a black version, which I don't think is translucent, or else it's so dark that I just haven't been able to see through it. So if you're looking for a more sort of staid-looking model, I think go with the black. It also comes in a red, which is just translucent, as this is. Maybe a little bit more translucent because it's lighter. You've got a nice band down here at the end, to sort of demarcate the end of the pen. That does not unscrew or anything, however. It's just for looks. The clip here is functional, if a little bit tight. It's definitely got some play to it, but as the clip is sort of mated against the top of this cap here, I wouldn't want to put too much stress on it. It feels sturdy enough, but I hate to have it flex and break the finial here. This finial is a little bit big, if you ask me. I think they are going for something with the shape. I'm not 100% sure what exactly, but you know, it's interesting. You're either going to love it or hate it. I got both sides, and I was showing this pen around and asking people, you know, what they thought of it. Some people thought it was kind of cool looking, a little bit futury, a little bit sort of under the radar, a little bit more like the sort of thing you'd find in the like ballpoint gel pen aisle, which is kind of a good thing for some people. Other people are like, this is a hideous pen. So I think it's going to be one of those pens that is really gonna split people into camps. As for me, I think it's kind of cool looking. I don't have any problem with the looks at all. I think it's neat. I mean, it doesn't look like any of my other pens, which I think is fun. It's not standard or staid. So this cap is the only metal bit. It's also the only bit that really has any branding on it. It says Aurora, Italy on the back, right there. And it also says Aurora on the clip. And that's kind of it. There's nothing on here that says K or Kappa or any of that stuff. Inside here you have an all plastic body. And I was meaning to see how much it's weighed next to another pen. It's also very light. And yeah, I'd say it's roughly equivalent. I don't have a scale, but I'd say it's roughly equivalent to the weight of a Safari. A little bit more concentrated here for some reason. There must be some extra weight in here. Maybe it's just this band is like metally enough to give it more weight, but it's about the same as a Safari. So if you like the weight of the Safari, for me the Safari is too light. And so for me, the Kappa unposted is also a little bit too light, I think. I'd like to see a little bit more weight on there, but if you post it, and it posts just fine, it puts the weight kind of here at the web of your hand, which I sort of like. I have no problem writing with it like this. I think it needed the extra bit of weight in the cap. Similarly for the Safari stuff, I think the Vista is a little bit better because it's got a little more weight in the cap. Anyway, so we've got stainless steel nibs on these. These are actually the same exact nibs that they put in the Epsilon. So if you like those nibs in the fine and medium modes, you're also going to like this one. I think the fine and medium and maybe even extra fine are actually the best modes, best sizes for the Epsilon series of nibs. I found the broads and the italics to be a bit weird. The italic is very strange from Aurora. It's not really for me. And the broads I didn't have good luck with. They had some, I don't know, they had like weird tie and alignment issues and stuff. I wasn't into them, but I've never had a bad medium or fine or extra fine. I've tried all of those. You can find a previous review for those. So if you like those nibs, this is an easier way to get into that nib because it costs significantly less. So while these pens look a lot different and they might be sort of aimed at the same kind of audience, an audience that likes some color, the Mizrip MSRP is like $70, which is not bad. So your street price is going to be around 60-ish. At Federalist Pens, where they provided this pen for review. And also giveaways. If you're watching this when I put this video up, there's a giveaway. Go over to the blog. I've got it there because it's hard to host a giveaway on YouTube. But anyway, this is $63 over there. So $63 versus $100 or $110 or $150 depending on your mode of this guy. It's a bit easier to get into this one as a first pen, like get people excited and into fountain pens at that level. So I think they're aiming at a lower price point on that, and that's not a bad idea. Inside this pen, when you open it up, it can take either a cartridge or a converter. Aurora does have proprietary cartridges. I've actually got another stress line here. I'm not sure if maybe somebody was playing with this at the table because it was already inked and stuff, but when they gave it to me. But it's got, like, somebody I think maybe been trying to prime it by squeezing squeezing the cartridge. And on these long cartridges, that is a bad idea. Don't do that. Just like kind of swirl it around and you'll get enough ink to the nib soon enough. But it is tempting to squeeze it, and you can because it's thin enough, but it also will lead to these stretch cracks. And so I didn't really notice until I flew with it to Chicago, and when I got home, there was ink in the barrel. I'm like, oh, that's damn strange. So I opened it up, and sure enough, there's a big crack right here-ish. Anyway, so a little bit of Gorilla Tape fixed that right up. No big deal. I don't have an extra Aurora converter around. My Aurora converter split on me, and the Kappa does not come with a converter. So if you are a converter person, you're going to have to do something else. Here's what we can do for a converter. If you don't want to buy an Aurora converter, because those guys are expensive, they look like this. This is the one that was in the Epsilon. I wanted to give another converter a shot because if you look closely there, you see that? It's split right there on the collar of this converter. Look at that. Now, it didn't cause any problems, but I think eventually that might widen up enough that this converter will just fall off the nipple that's in the pen. I've had that happen on another couple of converters. Not Aurora's. Maybe this is a little bit better, but I'm surprised that split. I mean, it's just been in the pen, and I've actually only had a couple of inks in this pen, so it may have just come like that, and I didn't notice until it was had a dark enough ink in it that got into the crack. But anyway, this is split, and so these guys are like 20-ish bucks, some places more. I've seen them as low as 18, but I don't think I've seen them lower, and I've seen them up to like 26 or something like that for a converter, which strikes me as far too expensive. So I was testing out other converters that had this big wide mouth in them, and I found one that works. Here's the one that works. It is significantly less expensive and widely available. That's a Lamy converter. Yeah. I've only had this in there for a little bit, but it is snug. It doesn't come out. It also doesn't seem to stress this section at all. A little bit of wiggle room in there. I don't think it's going to be pressing against the walls. I don't think it's going to cause any damage, and it has worked for me so far. But take that with a grain of salt. You are working at your own risk if you put a non-standard converter in there, or a non-Aurora converter in there. So anyway, yeah, I've used this Lamy converter and it works just fine. So these are available pretty cheaply and widely. So I'm going to use that instead of the Aurora one because that Aurora one split on me. I don't have any Aurora cartridges sitting around, so there we go. All right, so that's the pen. Let's take a look at a writing sample, and we'll look at it next to a bunch of other pens for size comparisons and all that. See y'all in a minute. Okay, let's do a writing sample with this Aurora Kappa here. This is the pen, sort of up close-ish. There is the nib. This is a medium nib, I believe. Let me see. Does it say? It does. The medium is actually right here, if you can see it. Yeah, right there. So anyway, this is a medium nib. I haven't tried the fine on this one, but the fine is exactly the same as it would be on the Aurora Ypsilon. So this is the Aurora Kappa. This is the fountain, of course. This is inked up with, I want to say it's probably, I don't know, it's got to be Aurora Blue, right? But I actually like this Aurora Blue better than I liked the Aurora Blue that was in the bottle. Aurora Blue in the bottle for me always looked purple, but this is just at least an Aurora ink cartridge. And it's got a nice wet flow. You can actually see the ink sort of glistening there on the page a little bit. I remember Aurora Blue being a bit like kind of dry. Aurora Black, of course, is super wet and like flows perfectly and all the things. But Aurora Blue for me always acts a little bit on the dry side. So I'm guessing, maybe this is kind of like it's kind of tuned wet. That's entirely possible. And so you're saying, "Oh, Mike, you didn't try any inks in this guy." Well, that's true, but also I've tried a lot of inks in the Ypsilons, and they use exactly the same nib units. In fact, exactly the same sections. This is all identical, and I unscrewed them and screwed them into the other barrel just to make sure. In fact, let's just go ahead and do it, because why not? It's no big deal. There's that Lamy converter again. This would actually be a good idea, because I want to check and make sure the Lamy converter fits in the Kappa. And it totally does. So now I've got that Kappa in there. This is a Hippo Purple. This which is a Robert Oster ink. Anyway, it fits in there perfectly. There's no problem with clearance or anything like that. So, and both of those are mediums. So I've got a lot of experience with the Aurora medium nib. I've been using it a lot. But this does have a nice wet flow to it. I've actually never had a problem with this starting up. It's always started up and written perfectly for me every time. Every direction seems good. I've got no weird issues, no baby bottom. This nib is actually really nice right out of the box. And this guy needed no alteration. I also wouldn't have altered it because it's what I'm doing for review. But nonetheless, I didn't have to. And I think the reason it starts up so reliably is, if I can get the angle right here, there you go. That little white bit inside the cap in there, that is actually a plastic inner cap. And I think it must made up against this ring here and really cut off the air supply. Which is real nice. So it keeps it nice and wet. And actually, I can see a little bit of blue through the end of there. I think this top might be translucent all the way down. That's interesting. I hadn't noticed that before. But anyway, it has this nice inner cap, and that inner cap keeps this nice and wet. Of course, I've also been waving it around for a while, and it still has no problems, going as fast as you want. Although I was kind of lifting it off the page there. There we go. And this is with no pressure at all. I don't write heavy or anything like that. But it does write perfectly. I've got no problems with this. Now, it is a little bit feedbacky, I think is the right word for it. It's got a little bit, like you can tell you're writing with a thing. It's not one of those nibs that just like glides across the page as if it's greased or something. It is a nib that you can sort of feel on the paper. And this is a Notco pad. And so the paper's not as smooth as, say, like Rhodia or something like that. But it is, it's very smooth. It's not the paper. It's definitely the pen. It's got a little bit of feedback. It's not like you're writing with a pencil or anything weird like that. But, you can feel the texture of the page. You can feel it when you change directions a little bit. That's never bothered me. I don't have any problem with it. Anyway, so long story short, I am quite happy with that nib. I've got no problems with it at all. All right. So let's look at it next to some other pens and stuff. Let's look at specs. In case you're interested in specs and stuff, here are some specs for you. I can go in just a little bit more. All right, there you go. So if you like specs, here are some specs. I didn't really, I didn't weigh it or anything because I don't have a scale. But as I said before, I think it's roughly similar in weight to a Safari. Here are the capped, uncapped posted links. I just did an illustration of those because I was taking advantage of this dot dash paper to try that out. I'm liking this dot dash paper, by the way. If you find some of this at Knock, I'd say give it a shot. But capped, uncapped, and posted, it's different lengths, of course, but it doesn't change tremendously. It changes just a little bit. The posted length does add quite a bit, but even with my fairly large hands, I don't have any problem with writing with it uncapped, or rather unposted. It's just a little bit light, so the length is good, but it's a little bit light for me, so I like to post it, and I find that puts the weight right here, because most of the weight in this pen is in the cap. But it doesn't cause any problems. It's not like super back heavy, and it doesn't drag it backwards or anything like that. So that's not really a problem. And then capped, this is a fine length to throw in a shirt pocket, something like that. I've been doing that a bit as I was finishing up my school semester and that sort of thing. So it's a great pen. It feels nice. It's a good length. Kind of a standard sort of length. I think the section diameter is actually perfect for me. It ranges from, as I say here, 9.3 to 10.7 millimeters, and I like it right around 10, so that's right around here, around the middle, and I think that's a good place for it. This is a good width, good diameter. I dig it. And MSRP around $70. So if you compare it to a bunch of other pens, in fact, let's go ahead and do that. Grab my tray of pens. All right, here's a whole tray of pens. Stick those in here like this. Voila. Okay, so these pens are a wide variety of things in the same kind of, like, I didn't just stick within the price range because that's kind of restrictive. It's right around $50 or $60. That's kind of an odd price range, just a little bit. Like, it's right around with the TWSBI 540 or 580 now. I think this is a 540 when I got it. It says 580 on the cap, but this has almost no original parts. So anyway, it's around that price range. It's around the same price range as the Karas Customs Fountain K. It's around the same price range as the Faber-Castell Loom. It's around the same price range as the... Let's go ahead and put this one in there. It's got a tamer color as the All-Star, Always. There you go. Put it by the All-Star. It's around the same price range. So if you're comfortable in those price ranges, you should be okay with the Fountain K's price range, I think. And as far as performance, I think it performs a bit better than your average All-Star or Safari. Like I said, I like Aurora's steel nibs, especially the smallish ones, which is odd for me, I know, but nonetheless I do. As far as like writing width, they're about the same as any other sort of Western widths. They're not like Japanese widths or anything like that, so it's not super small. Anyway, so here's the size comparison compared to all those other things. It's actually a fairly short-ish pen. You'll find it's pretty similar to, like, if you're familiar with Frank & Christoph's, this one is more expensive than any of the other ones. This one's like $145, but it's almost exactly the same length as a the Pocket 66, and it's about the same length and such. Let's go ahead and move these over. About the same as the Artistic Crystal, which is a nice pen. I actually, like, if you find one of these, I would say grab it because you can put a lot of nibs in here. Oh, look at that. This is not Diamine. This is Mont Blanc Lucky Orange. Neat, huh? It gets all crusty. Some oranges do that. Anyway, it's a good price range for these pens, and it's a good price, I think, for this pen. $70 might be a little bit rich, but you're not going to find it for $70 on the street. It'll be between like 50 and 65. Well, 50 and 65, I would guess, somewhere in there. There aren't terribly many retailers who have this Kappa pen yet, just because it's very new. I think they introduced it in Atlanta at the Atlanta Pen Show, which was only like a month ago or something, so it's pretty new. There are a few places that have it. I'm, of course, going to send you to Federalist Pens, because Federalist Frank gave this to me for review, and I will be passing it on to you as a giveaway, so go check the inkdependence.com blog for details about that giveaway. Get in there, get this pen, I'll mail it to you. That's that. All right, so that's it. This has been the Aurora Kappa. I'm Mike. This is Ink Dependence. Find me at all the regular places online. I am at Ink Dependence on Instagram, and I am at inkdependence.com for the static blog with lots of pictures and all that kind of jazz for this pen and many, many other pens and inks, etc., etc. All right, that's it. So do all the regular YouTube stuff. do the clicks and give me the likes and write a comment below. I'll respond to most of the comments. Probably, I almost always do. And let me know what you think of this pen. So tell me which side of the divide you're on. Are you digging this style, or is this style too much for you in a fountain pen? But yeah, I'd like to know what you think, because this is an interesting and polarizing sort of pen. It's not staid for sure. It's not boring. All right, so that's it. See you later. Bye.